Hello, Amber. Get you in front there. Okay, so great topic, and the topic was we, since me is an illusion. So talk about we. These topics are getting tougher. That's good. Tougher in the sense because they're grand, right? We. Well, assuming we meaning the one, which I would think. It's an amazing concept, the whole we, the one, the many. Duality. It's a very complex matrix. It's a very complex experience. Everything here is complex and expressive and vibrant and vivid and wonderful and scary. Everything, including ourselves and even our own minds and emotions. Yeah, it's pretty big. As soon as you start pointing at the we, which is the one, it's pretty much the biggest topic there is. It's what everything's pointing at. Religion, science, philosophy, you name it. When you really look back over time, you start to see it's all pointing in one direction. And that's at you and at me. It's pointing at us. Everything directs us back to us. Even the way this fun house, how everything's projections and reflections. Again, everything's pointing back at us. Everything in nature, we see the cycle of life. Everything keeps pointing to, and the patterns we see in everything, and the way everything, what we know about existence and what we know about with our learning in science and quantum physics and you name it. Everything they're learning, it's all pointing in one direction. That's how I see it. And it's also what I feel. It's all connected. So I've always seen all of this as, well, I shouldn't say I've always, the way I've seen it in recent years, and the way I've experienced it more so than see it that way. But based on my own awakenings, my own experience, and the feeling of spaciousness and connectedness, I feel that it's, my analogy is consciousness separating itself into trillions and trillions of pieces. More than that, but that's the biggest word I know, trillion. I don't know what's bigger than a trillion, but whatever it is, it's probably that. But let's just say trillions of pieces, meaning everything. And then trillions of pieces to explore itself, rediscover itself, remember itself, and ultimately return to itself. And in this grand matrix, especially in this part of the matrix, this Eden planet ocean, if you think about it, we have souls that come and go here. This is grand central station of the universe. It's got to be. It's amazing, this holographic playground. If you think about it, trillions of life forms are coming and going every day. Every day. If you think of all the animals and organisms that are dying and that are being born, and then you add on that the human population, at least millions coming and going every day. Whatever the actual figures are, in total it would be trillions. Trillions of souls are coming and going from this place every day. So where are they coming from and where are they going? Right? Where is all this pointing to? Quantum physics is coming up with all kinds of things. and they've come up with the God particle. We see patterns in everything they're discovering, and even in traditional science, where they're discovering the patterns in water when you freeze it, and what they're discovering with and how it's being affected by us and by energy, and everything they're learning about how this works with energy and how we're actually creating this. It's amazing. And then when you go deep into quantum physics, and they see that there's more space between, there really is no solid things at all in existence. When they look as deep as you can look, they found that there's more space between it all than there's actually matter. So even things that are solid, appear to be solid, nothing's actually solid. But there's more space in between that we're not tapped into on a conscious level. And they also have discovered, scientists, that they're trying to find, they found the ultimate power source, which could be interpreted, that's how I interpret it, as the space, as that same space. So ultimate power, they feel they can pull ultimate, unlimited power from that space. So, which is amazing, but it's also kind of scary, because so to me what I hear is they want to tap into source strictly for the power, for the energy. So I don't really have any beliefs on that or any opinions. It's like, whoa. they're actually doing it. They're experimenting. It's like, wow. I thought it was big where they were doing things like trying to create little mini wormholes and other things, but yeah, now we want to. But why not? If you pull back again, what are we trying to do in spirituality? We're tapping into that source. So, okay, so there's others, and they're trying to tap into it in a different way, for a different reason. It's amazing stuff, all of this. It's amazing what we're finding out, and yet we're still, I think we all know or feel we're barely scratching the surface. And so yeah, there's all this vastness in between everything. Everything's connected. Everything. It's all made of the same stuff, and we know that. We know on every level that everything's connected. We experience, even though we go into these amnesia and denial, we know when we're at our most deepest state of self, of stillness, we know, we remember. We're connected. We realize we're connected to everything. We are everything. When we have moments of enlightenment or awakening, we feel this. I felt it, which is why I made a video at the time called Enough Space for Everything. It was directly coming off of a 3-day powerful awakening where I was experiencing that state like never before. And so it's all, the commonalities in everything, in everything that is human expression is amazing, and it all to me is pointing in one direction. It's pointing right back at us. Us meaning something within us, meaning source, meaning whatever all this is coming from, that we're connected to it, and we are co-creating this state, this realm that we know. It's incredible. It's mind-blowing. Obviously, which is why the mind has to narrow down our vision to handle it, right? It knows there's way too much to, even everything we think we see, there's way more around us, going on around us than we see. Our brain, science shows us, our brains interpret all the time and narrow it down. We see in our own lives and in society with labeling and narrowing things down and saying this is this, and strict beliefs and everything else, so that we can comprehend and we can sleep at night and feel safe in a way, a false sense of safety, but we can, it's fascinating. And then, so there's duality, this resistance to where we are and what we are, this feeling of separateness. It's incredible. So it's knowing that's what the deal is. If If we were to look at it and say, all agree, yes, okay, so we're consciousness expressing itself and working itself out. If we can all agree on that, then when you pull back and look at it like that, wow. Just that setup alone. And then the complexities within that, then when we zoom in, just here on planet Ocean, and all these organisms, and all these expressions in our own mind, how complex they are, and yet how intertwined everything is, which is why we have intuition and empathic powers, and more stuff coming up all the time, and that just barely scratches the surface. Self-healing and energy work, and it's, you name it. I mean, it's incredible how all this is strung together. And then the duality. So when we see when we pull back and see what a big thing this is, what's happening, it's amazing. It's pure magic. Being so complex in its expression, it's no doubt that in addition to all of this is constant contradictions and paradoxes. It's incredible. See, we could talk about this all day long, right? Because when we talk about we talk about the one, we're talking about source, we're talking about the connectedness, we're talking about it all. We're going right to the deep, right to the core of it all, which is great. I like that. But yeah, we could talk all day. But yeah, to me, everything's pointing at that. Science is pointing at an ultimate source. And yet all that source, we experience it in ourselves. When we're free of the mind, in stillness, and what we often describe as closest to our inner child, which makes sense because the child was closer to source than we are. We get further away as our mind does what it does, and then society and conditioning, all these things, we get further away from it. But children are closest to source. So that's why when we do childlike things, we feel closer to source. There's lots of ways to feel closer to source. Playing, music, we can find all kinds of ways, and we do. Meditation. But again, when we do that, we're tapping into the stillness, we're tapping into the consciousness, we're tapping into our true selves. And that's what everything's coming from. So everything is pointing to that. Everything's pointing to us. Inviting us. Everything's inviting us to go inward. That's the answer to everything. That's why the answer is always, go look inward. You decide. Everything in this world, ultimately, people might have lots of answers for you, but ultimately, in the end, the answer, whether we're talking, it doesn't matter what the subject is, it's ultimately everything in this world, it's up to you. We are the masters of our own experience. By default, but it's also when we can tap into that and realize that, it's incredibly empowering. But again, everything points to us. We're in control of all of this, so we know that. We tap into source, we know we are source. And everything's pointing at source, everything's pointing at us. Everything in this experience keeps inviting us to go inward. When we're to look back at us, the way everything is like funhouse mirrors and reflections and projections, the way we manifest, everything keeps pointing at us, saying that you are the source, you are the source, you are the source. You are the source. I wish I could change my voice to Morgan Freeman right now and say that. You are the source. Yeah, big subject. So that's what we're all talking about with one. Even when we look at the way everything always returns, I always see the circle as a big pointer too, the actual circle. Everything seems to, we see circles everywhere. On a scientific level, when we look at things scientifically, we see everything's circular. The way things shape in this world, the sun, the moon, rocks, circular. We see circles everywhere. And we talk about the circle of life. Life moves in a circle. Renewal. So it points, even the circle itself, which is in our face all the time, it's even the base of our numbers. You can't have numbers without zero, right? Zero is what? A circle. So, and some people might hear that and go, oh, geez, okay, far circle theory. But I'm just saying it's yet again another thing, but that's in our face all the time. That's pointing, because a circle never ends. It goes back to source. It goes back to where it was. It's infinite. So again, everything's pointing at us, and everything's pointing at infinite space. That whatever all this is coming from is infinite. And ever expanding and growing and shifting. It's incredible. It's incredible. If it weren't for human amnesia and conditioning, it would really boggle the mind that people can be bored. How can you find any of this boring? I don't care if you have the most boring life in the world, which most people don't, but let's just say you do. The most simple, boring, nothing going on, no contact with people, no, whatever. Let's just narrow it down to the most simple, just you sitting in your little apartment and, whatever, just your most boring. Hey, it's life. It's life itself. The body never keeps us bored. It's always changing and shifting. Our emotions are always, the fact that we have these complex thoughts and emotions and just what our own personal experience that each of us have to go through is not boring at all. Life is rich. Smells, tastes, touch. Oh my. And then when you look out in the world and expression and then this big world of nature, all these things going on, we're in a wonderland of food and medicine and entertainment and it's a teacher. It's the biggest teacher there is, nature, and this variety and colors and these creatures and environments and weather and changing weather and oh my goodness, it just goes on and on and on. This is so incredibly rich, this experience, and it's some closed off to the point where they can feel bored, but yeah, there's nothing to be bored about this experience. And we don't know how long we have here, each of us, or all of us, we don't know. We have every reason to cherish every moment of now. And that's part of our complex struggle here too. Is we're caught in the past and worried about the future and get caught up in the mind. It's amazing. I think we're doing pretty good. Considering, if you really pull back, I know, the things humanity has done here in this expressions and continues to today. Believe me, my heart's broken a million times over the things that happen here. Because I don't like to see things suffer, but still, if you pull back, even in this chaos, it's amazing we can hold it together this much, considering where we are, what we're going through, what stage we're at, and the complexity of it all. It's incredible that we just don't all go insane the minute we're born. Well, some do, but you know what I'm saying. It's overwhelming. So, give us this pat on the back. We're expressing, we're loving, we're doing it. Wow. So yeah, I could go on and on, but I think that's good enough. I think that covered the we. It's what it's all about. We.